What is going on, YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I'm going to be bringing you my Gabumon list that I took to Nationals. Now, if you followed any of my Twitch streams, you know I was working a lot on this list. I put a lot of hours into this list, trying to learn the matchups, trying to get this deck as perfect as it could be. Unfortunately, I had a pretty poor performance at Nationals in my standards, and was pretty disappointed by that, but unfortunately, I am a little bit burnt out from the Gabumon deck now, so I probably won't really be playing it that much leading up into BT7. So I'm going to go ahead and share it with you all here, so that way you can see what I was running with, the reasons why I chose some cards, and if you do like this list, you can go ahead and test it out, maybe change up a couple things if you want to. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into the list. So to start off with the Digitama, we're going to have the 4 Upamon and the 1 Demi-Vmon. The 4 Upamon is very standard. This card is very good. Being able to draw whenever you're attacking gives you a lot of resources. A lot of times you're going to Digivolve into the Upamon turn 1, promote next turn, your opponent will play a rookie. You can swing in, get a security check, and draw. And a lot of lists aren't playing the Demi-Vmon, but if you're not playing the red package, you need the 5th egg so that you can have a chance for security control. You're going to be going through all your eggs, cycling the cards that you need, getting your Tamers out, getting your hybrids, making it so that you can get BT6 Gabumon out and go into Bond and stuff like that. And so I wanted to cut down to 4 of these eggs and just run the Upamons, no Demi-Vmons, but against security control, you're going to be going to your 5th egg pretty consistently. You should be going there pretty much every single game. And so, yeah, Demi-Vmon's just the best 5th egg, going to be able to get that 1k boost, which does help sometimes being able to swing over in the mirror match. Sometimes if you go into Bond, you're at 15. A lot of times you don't Bond. This more comes up often with things like Octomon, Kendo Garurumon, or Ikakumon, who are going to be able to swing over your opponent's 6-7k DP Digimon that normally they would trade with. Getting into the rookies, we're going to be going and having 4 of the EX1 Gabu. Now this card was just absolutely insane. EX1 Gabu gives you so much value. Being able to swing over with the champions that we have in this list makes EX1 Gabumon even better because we have a very solid champion lineup. But being able to swing, search for a Tamer or a Gabumon gives you so much value. Because of this card being so strong at what it does, I was able to make a couple changes that we'll talk about later because of the consistency that we have with this Gabumon. But this card is absolutely insane. You definitely want to be playing this at 4 because the value off this card is so good. Then we're going to be playing 4 of the BT6 Gabumon. Not really much to say here. We want this for the Bond. It also makes it so you can play mats for 2, which does come in handy. There's a lot of times where if your opponent puts you to 3 on turn 1, you can Digivolve an EX1 Gabu and Raising, and then you can go ahead and play out the BT6 Gabu, go to 0, and then you can play mat, and instead of putting your opponent at 3, they go to 2 because you gain the memory. If you have multiple of these out, you can be able to get it cheaper, and then also if it's out and mat comes out of security, you can also gain a memory. So this card is very good in both whether you just want it as a Gabumon or if you're going to go into Bond. This is a very key card, so we're going to be playing 4 of that. Then we're going to be playing 4 of the Draw Gabumon. Draw Gabumon is just very good. If it's a security check, it's usually really bad because most things are going to live over it, and in the mirror match, you want 2k or higher so that way they can trade in security, because whenever they swing into the 1k and it survives, you do have to then trade over that Digimon or do something like Kendo Garurumon to get it out off the field, so that can be a downside. But being able to cycle for 3 is very powerful, especially since it's a Gabumon. So even if there's times where you can't play it out, you can still put this in Raising, promote, get the gain off of mat. You can still Bond off of top of it, but it's just very value. Wanted to try to get as much search as possible, so playing 4 of this and then 4 of the EX1 Gabu was very important for the consistency of the deck, being able to find the pieces that we need and all that. So I'm going 4 here, and then we're playing 2 of the starter deck 8 Gabumon. Now I chose starter deck 8 Gabumon because I really didn't like promo Gabumon. Promo Gabumon, putting it so you put 5 cards at the bottom, and a lot of times whiffing felt really bad, especially in the mirror match, because there's a lot of times where you just want to draw cards, hit your ice walls, so that way you can set up for that turn that you need. And bottom decking things like ice walls, hammer sparks, howling memory boost, all that stuff, it felt really bad. And so the promo Gabumon just was whiffing way too much for me to really feel comfortable playing it, and so I took it out for the STA Gabu, mostly for things like to buff up the Kendo and the Ikaku, so that way we could swing over other 6Ks, or for to make it so that we could swing over Mechanorimon more specifically. And then also just being able to buff this stuff is nice. There was a lot of times where buffing up the Octomon to 8k or the Ikaku to 7k was very impactful, so did like this buff here. This is a little bit better than the Demi-Vmon because this is all turns, as where this is your turn, so there's a lot of times where you can put something on top of this and then your opponent still can't get over it next turn because you have the extra 1k DP. But that is the Gabumons. We are running the 14 Gabumons, and then to finish off the rookies, I was playing 3 Madoki Betamon. Madoki Madoki Betamon is a card that is very good in the meta because you're able to shut off so much, especially in the mirror match. If you have Madoki on the field and you swing into your opponent's Ice Wall or Hammer Spark and security, you can stop that memory gain. So there's a lot of times where if you can go in for game in the mirror match with Madoki on board, a lot of the time it's very safe because the only things saving them are like Kaitis Breath, Absolute Blast, Rattlestar, things like that. And so I found this to be very good. We decided to cut the Strabbies. We were playing 2 Strabbies to go to a 3rd Madoki and a 2nd Starter Deck 8 Gabu, just because the Strabbies weren't feeling as good. There were times where they were whiffing, and we'd rather have the Gabu Digivolve and Raising than a Strabby. Also be able to get the Inheritable off this Gabumon, and then the Madokis were just so good that we wanted to have a higher consistency of hitting it, especially because the more we played it at 3, I found that the being able to play 2 Madokis on the board at one time is very strong, because a lot of times in the like mirror match or in a lot of other matches, they're only going to be able to clear 1 Madoki Betamon at a time. So if you have 2 on the board, even if they clear the 1 Madoki, they're still not going to be able to gain memory. So having this at 3 for the higher consistency did help a lot. But this is going to be the rookie lineup. We were running 17. This was a number I was very happy with. The 14 and 3 was running 18 for a while. Was hesitant to go down to the 17, but once I started playing it, it did work. Gave us more room in the rest of the deck. So this is our rookie lineup. Now, let's go ahead and get into the champions. Did have a little bit different of a champion lineup than a lot of other lists, but we'll go ahead and get into that. We'll start off with the 3 Octomon. Octomon was absolutely insane. Being able to be at 7k helped a lot in the mirror match, because a lot of times if they weren't playing their own Octomon, they couldn't really get over it without playing something like Removal or going into Bond, so you're able to get multiple checks on board with this. Pair that with the EX1 Gabumon Search. It was very strong and able to get you a lot of cards into your hand, while also being able to survive a lot. And then we were playing the 2 Ikakumon. 2 Ikakumon was something that I was playing at 1 of, and then after testing it for a while, Ikakumon was so strong that I wanted to bump it up to 2. It's just a very good card. Being able to swing over stuff that has no sources makes it so your opponent is in a very awkward spot. Being able to play things like Ikakumon and Kendo on the board made it very hard for your opponent to really play anything on board and keep it to stick, so this card was very strong. The reason I want to start off with these champions is because when me and Chris were working, we decided that we wanted these 5 champions for sure. The 3 Octomon and the 2 Ikakumons, the ratios felt really good. The consistency here felt really good. But we didn't want to exceed the 11 champions that we were playing. And so the reason why that's important is because now getting into the rest of the champions, we're going to be having 3 Kendo and 3 Lobo. So we wanted to play 11 champions. That's what we felt comfortable with. And we knew we wanted to play these 5 for sure. So that really only left us 6 spots for hybrids. So looking at the hybrids, we had to cut down on either a Lobomon or a Kendo. After a lot of testing, a lot of talking, a lot of thought, we decided to cut down on the Lobo, so that way we could go up in the 2nd Ikakumon, because Lobo is good in security control, because there's a lot of times where we were playing against security control where we would have game, being able to go for multiple hybrids, but Kendo costing 1 more to Digivolve on top of meant that we were 1 memory short of being able to go in for game. And so Lobomon came into that situation a lot, but we started to feel very comfortable in the security control matchup, and so we wanted to be more tech for the mirror match, Agumon, D-Brigade, these more aggressive decks, and so we found the Kendo to be more effective in there. So when deciding to cut down to either 2 Kendo or 3 Lobomon, we decided to go down to 3 Lobomon, play the 3 and 3. I don't regret this at all. These feel really good. The 4th Lobomon, like I said, really only ever came in impact in the security control matchup if you were 1 memory off from being able to get that last hybrid for game, which happened a couple times, but not super consistently. But the Kendo was just so good in the mirror match and all these other aggressive matches. Being able to keep that on board, especially with things like Madoki Betamon on the board, made it very hard for your opponent to get rid of or to play around. And so the 3 and 3 here, but these are the champions. We are going to be running the 11, like I said. Next up, we're playing 3 Bond of Friendship. Now, this is probably something people didn't really expect. Why play 3 instead of 4? Most people playing 4, and this is one of the things I was alluding to earlier with EX1 Gabumon. I found with EX1 Gabumon and very consistently that I was having 2 or 3 Bond of Friendships in my hand, or ones that I could have in my hand if searching with Gabumon, and usually only 1, maybe 2 bonds get used max per game, and so I found it to be very clunky very consistently. There was a lot of times where I was just having way too many bonds, so I decided to cut it down to 3 to test it out to see if the EX1 Gabu search, as well as the Draw Gabu and the Davis, were going to be enough cycle to be able to find this, and I found it that even at 3, there were still many games where I was having 2 or all 3 bonds in my hand and still only being able to use 1. And so the consistency of finding bond was so high that I felt that the 4th bond was just way too clunky. We could take this out for an entirely new slot, and I didn't really regret it since. A lot of people question me, are you sure you don't like 4 bond over 3? And I can tell you that I never had times where I didn't have my bond when I really needed it. There was maybe 1 or 2 games total where having the 4th bond over the Ikakumon would have been better. But it was very far in between, and they didn't really matter because you can just get so aggressive with the other type of game plans that a lot of times you don't really need to bond to win the game. So with that considering, plus the fact that you can find it so consistently, I just went to cut it down to 3, and this was one of probably my favorite decisions that I made in the list because it ended up just making the list feel so much more clean, being able to have an extra card in my hand that is usable. Now getting into the Tamers, we're going to have the 4 Mat. Nothing crazy here. Mat is just very good. It's a Gabumon list. You want to be able to gay 1, draw 1, helps you go into bond. Tamers for your hybrids. It's just the all-around package. This card is very, very strong. And then 3 Davis. Again, it's not something very uncommon, the 3 Davis here. Some people were playing 2 Davis to play the Sorojo. Some people were playing 3 Davis with a 4 Sorojo. I'm just playing the 7 Tamers. Tested the Sorojo a little bit. Found it that most of the time when it was in my hand, I never wanted to spend the memory to play it. So unless it came out of security, it felt like a dead card. If it came out of security, it felt like the best Tamer ever. But whenever you had to have it in your hand, I'd a lot of times rather play Davis so I could search out the cards that we needed. Or I would just rather put Digimon on board than spend the 4. So I ended up not liking the Sorojo too much, so I just went with the 4 Mat and the 3 Davis. Now to finish off the list, we are going to get into the options. I have 4 Hammer Spark and 4 Ice Wall. Not much to say here. Some people cut down on the Sparks and the Ice Walls. I didn't want to. I wanted these to be as consistent as possible. The Hammer Sparks help combo this deck so much so you can get that 1 extra memory that you need to be able to either choke your opponent or get that extra hybrid out, or be able to make it so if your opponent puts you at 1, you can go to 2 and Digivolve into Octomon or Ikakumon or something like that. Hammer Spark is so good, and then Ice Wall is just Ice Wall. I tested Ice Wall at 3 for a bit, but it's just one of those cards where whether it's in your hand or it's in security, it's so strong that I just decided to put it up to 4. No regrets here. These are very powerful. Then we have 2 of the Howling Memory Boost. These are the only Memory Boosts I'm playing. I didn't play Blue Memory Boost because I felt the cycle in this deck was already a lot. We're already playing Davis. We're already playing the EX1 Gabus, the Draw Gabus, plus a lot of champions for us to Digivolve on top of. The cycle felt way consistent. Didn't really ever want the Blue Memory Boost, but the Howling made it so you could get through blockers like Craniumon. You could make it so things on the board can't attack, like Promo Greymons or just anything that could threaten on the board, while also being able to delay later, go up to 2, go into your Lobomon or whatever you need to do. The Howling Memory Boost was very strong. There was a lot of times where me and Chris were trying to bump this up to 3, but never could really find the room. It would probably have to be -1 of these, but like I said, I felt these were too strong. I didn't really want to cut the Howling. It didn't really make sense in practice, so we just kept with the 2 Howlings. And then to finish off the deck, we have 1 Cocytus and 1 Rattlestar. These were my removal options of choice. For the longest time, I was playing 2 Cocytus Breath, and just this was the option lineup. Going in after EU Nationals, we saw the representation of Diaboromon, and so after seeing that, we wanted to go ahead and tech in the Rattlestar, so it was a little bit better prepared for that, as well as it's also just a lot of times being able to have 2 Cocytus Breath in your hands felt really bad. Being able to play something for 5 to remove instead of 7 felt really good. It was a lot weaker in the security control matchup, although Rattlestar still had a lot of value in that matchup. Was a little bit weaker, but it was stronger in things like pretty much any other Digimon board-based deck, like maybe Agumon or D-Brigade or stuff like that, because instead of having to bounce something back for 7, you could bounce it back for 5 to put them at their 3 memory, or you can bottom deck it if they have 3 or more. But this was my list for Nationals. Like I said, unfortunately, I didn't do that well. I am going to go ahead and keep working. I do want to get better results. I am a bit disappointed in myself for these results at Nationals with how much time I put in, but that's not really important here. The important thing is that I'm going to continue, keep grinding, keep bringing you all content, doing my best to become the best player I can, provide you guys with the best content, and hopefully this list is something that you all enjoy. If you have any tournaments coming up, I do recommend testing out this list. There are a lot of Gabumon lists out there that you could test, but this is the list that me and Chris came to. We are pretty happy with it card for card. The only question that really came up into question was the Kendo to Lobo split between the 6 hybrids, but like I said, other than that, we were very happy with the list. I was very happy with the work that I put in here. It just didn't work out on the tournament day, unfortunately, but with that being said, this is going to be the list. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, because I'm going to be bringing you even more content, as well as I will be live streaming on Twitch pretty consistently, so be sure to follow me on Twitch. Link will be in the description, but with that being said, I hope you have a great day. Peace out.